All right. So I think we're good. It's 4 after. So just we'll get started. So we'll so while we're here today, for one, I just want to welcome everyone for joining. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. And I really, Joe, I know I said it a few minutes ago, but I'm so grateful that you've joined me today. Obviously, just to have a conversation and share your expertise and insight. Super thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Really happy to be here.
So we'll just do a quick introduction to kick it off. So I'll start first, make it quick. So I've been in the gift card industry for about 17 years now, to date myself a little bit. And in my past role, I was more in the B2C world. So I managed like large merchants in the US. So Costco, GameStop were two. So I managed their in-store third-party malls. So all the different brands within their retail doors, as well as online. And really, as in my career, I kind of saw the evolution moving more towards digital. So what, historically brick and mortar was kind of the, bread and butter of the industry. It was really shifting. And so as I was looking to kind of move into a space where digital was kind of more of the focus, Tillo was a perfect fit. So I joined I'm actually next month is coming up on my year at Tillo. So enough about me. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Joe Moore. I head up partnerships at a fintech company called HyperJar. I've been with the company over 5 years now, since we're a tiny little organization with 8 people in one office. And HyperJar is a UK-based money management app that helps hundreds of thousands of customers plan, organize, and manage their money more effectively. As of the last quarter of last year, we partnered with Tillo and set up a digital gift card partnership, which is going incredibly well, and I'll talk more on that later on. Prior to HyperJar, I worked at a large UK retail grocery store for over 9 years in various roles across store management, planning management, project management, and also marketing. So I have a real kind of grounding in the retail space, and now work with a number of retailers on propositions involving gift cards and other interesting stuff as well that we're doing. So that's me.
That's amazing. Okay, well, and then so now while we're all here today, right? So just really quickly at a high level, what we're going to cover today. So we're going to talk about digital, gift cards, and I guess really the global gift card, but also the growth of digital. Also some really creative use cases and strategies for growth, leveraging digital gift cards. And then Joe, you've been kind enough to join to walk us through really how you guys are leveraging gift cards within your app. And then we're also going to talk about when you're choosing a rewards partner, what's the most important things to look for? So on to the next slide. So global gift card market, it's expected to reach 2.3 trillion by 2030, which is insane, right? How big it's growing. One of the things that I'm seeing, and Joe, I know we've kind of talked about this, is the interesting shift in gift cards has been historically people only thought of them as gifts, right? If you're going to a birthday party or a wedding, you'd go to Sainsbury's and you'd get a gift card, right? And you would use it for that. But really, we're seeing such a big transition into self-use, which is, I think, why we're seeing such a huge scale in the gift card industry overall.
Yeah, completely agree. I think that's accelerated by the birth of digital gift cards, right? It's more accessible to more people than it ever has been before. And so it's opened up this whole domain, as you say, Nicole, around people being able to use gift cards to budget, to plan to their everyday spending. So, the example you use with Sainsbury's, previously it would be all about, I'll give you a gift card for your birthday or for Christmas or whatever it might be. But now I can buy £100 a week or £100 a month and use that to pay down, my grocery spend, and use it, especially in a cost of living crisis, as a way to manage more effectively. And that's certainly how, or one of the reasons we're utilizing digital gift cards through the HyperJar app.
That's so cool. And I also heard recently that digital is now officially outperforming physical in the UK.
Yeah.
I think, the UK tends to be ahead, right, in a lot of the payments in that space. So it's not a huge surprise, but it'll be interesting to see how globally the rest of the world kind of catches up to that.
Yeah, I think there's some of the innovation within different retailers as well, allowing you to upload a gift card and then just use it as currency within the app just
Yeah.
makes it even easier to use, or scan a digital gift card at a till point, for example, like using QR codes. So it is just used as another form of currency. And that, again, that's how we're kind of using gift cards, that we just see it as a different way that customers can pay their bill or buy their shopping, and use it in conjunction with their HyperJar payment card. Because yeah, as I say, it's just another way of paying for your shopping.
Branded currency, right? I know
Yeah,
we've talked
exactly. Branded
about that.
currency. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then so as we go to the next slide, so what does that mean, for our partners and our brands? So digital gift cards are being used for a lot of different things in the space. So obviously for acquisition, getting new customers, driving engagement, and then, nurturing the loyalty. I think that's kind of, historically been where most people have thought of, gift cards in general. And then also just, really growing the revenue. Overall, for your programs. So whether you're on the brand side or the partner side, it's, a huge opportunity. Okay, and next slide. So I wanted to share this slide. This is part of, our Tillo. You can find this, on our site. But the thing I really love about this is it really kind of highlights just the brands, right? So the big global brands that, our partners have access to super simply, but mainly what I love is how it really demonstrates all of the different verticals and industries that are really leveraging gift cards, right? And obviously, as you mentioned for HyperJar, you guys are looking at it from, a cash back and a earning and a, planning and budgeting perspective. Obviously, we've got, neobanks and buy now. So it's just really fascinating to me how much it's really unlocked just so many different use cases. And so I'm curious from the HyperJar perspective, obviously incorporating, all of these brands into your app. Have you seen a major shift in the engagement?
Absolutely. At both a brand level and an overall app usage as well. I think fundamentally from a customer perspective, and that if customers are happy, they're using our app more, right? And they're using more of our features. I think customers are constantly looking for new innovative ways where they can get more out of their money. And one of the things we're using is that customers can buy branded gift cards, and we have over 90 within the app, top retailers within the UK market, and they get rewarded essentially for buying that. So it goes back to that point I was making before, that people are buying gift cards to plan and spend their everyday shopping, be it groceries, be it technology, be it fashion, and using it in that way. So it's incredibly useful for customers. So more customers are coming in, using those features, depositing more into the HyperJar app, and therefore increasing overall engagement with all of the features that we have. And then from a kind of brand perspective as well, I think the powerful kind of message through gift cards is this concept of intent, that people are purchasing gift cards before the point in which they're spending in store. So they're locking in their spend way before they're actually going and buying a specific item. And that has a massive impact on their kind of transaction frequency, the transaction value, their market share, you name it, right? Because one fascinating thing that we're seeing at all the brands that we do sell gift cards for is that people will come in and they'll spend in round numbers, right? So you'll buy a gift card for £50 or $50, $100, $200, whereas actually when you spend in store, it might be 38, 52. And so you've always got that kind of residual value that you're coming back for second, third, fourth time. So it just grows that kind of overall engagement through the app that we're seeing, and also with the brand partners that we have. So it does feel like it's a kind of win for everyone involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other great thing, obviously when you think of kind of in the cashback space, right, there's obviously a lot of affiliates in that kind of space, but the beauty of digital gift cards is it's available every day, like you mentioned. It's not going to be rotating, the value's not going to change. It, stays consistent, which helps with that every day planning.
Absolutely. I think it combines that always on, but then we still have the ability to run like campaigns that, we can work with the retailers to do different things at different times of the year around different seasonal events. So you do kind of have that best of both worlds, where customers know they can come for that everyday value, but if they look twice as often, they might see different offers or a boosted rate or something cool like a new brand that's been spotlighted for the week or for a campaign period. So yeah, we're still experimenting. We're very early days, and we've got loads to do, but we're still experimenting on how we can provide the best value for our customers and also for the retail partners.
And we love that. I mean, I know from a Tillo perspective, that's what the innovation, like working with our
Mhm.
partners. I mean, we're just thrilled to be a part of that. Um, okay, on the next slide, we'll go through. So just talking about, again, with gift cards, customer acquisition, it's a really big one. So when you think about, and maybe the next slide, here we go. So just kind of highlighting why why they're so good for acquisition. Really, when you think of it, within the fintech space, so with a lot of different apps and a lot of different platforms, everyone's trying to get new users. Obviously, having the big brands helps with the reputation, right? To get people
Yeah.
on board. But it really is an easy driver, and it's cost effective to do it because obviously, where we see big success is a referral. So, hey, join, get a $10 referral, choose from any of these gift cards. And then because there's actually a discount on the back end, maybe not isn't actually a $10 cost of acquisition, right? With the margin, maybe it's closer to 6. So, right, there's again, just thinking of innovative ways to get people on board. And then, obviously from a hyper personalization perspective, I know that's something that's really important to you guys at HyperJar. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, first of all, just on
Yeah.
some of these points on
Yeah.
the slide, I think completely agree. I mean, having affiliation with big brands, it just builds trust, right, in your own brands that you're partnered with these global brands. And to a point you made earlier, um, I think having that incentive built in because customers are looking for ways to manage their money going further, it just means they've got that added value really of being able to sign up and utilize some of the functionality, which is incredibly powerful. Um, and yeah, we try and use a lot of kind of personalization within the app and have different offers for different customers as well, based on how they're using the app, how they're engaging, what makes sense for them. And that's certainly something we can do through gift cards. One of the other ways that we utilize gift cards through Tillo is that we run a lot of surveys to get feedback from customers.
Yeah.
So it's like prizes for completing surveys. We'll often give out gift cards as a thank you as well. So it's combining the everyday spending with a bit of kind of surprise and delight as well for customers that they really love.
Yeah, you're just that loyalty, right? It just
Yeah, exactly.
keeps them
Exactly.
spending.
The different use cases that, it's for different reasons. It makes a lot of sense for us.
And that's the great thing too. I mean, obviously by leveraging, an API, right? You get to build the UI. So you can do various use cases, right? We don't say, oh, you have to just have this and this, right? It really
Yeah.
unlocks really any, any means of use that you see, relevant to your end, customers. So
That's it. And I mean, another way we really personalize things is that the gift cards might be static in terms of, you'll buy £100 with a given brand, but then the reward that we can provide to customers can fluctuate based on their behavior. So if they're, engaged with the brand more frequently, we can offer a high rate or things like that. Or if they're a new customer that's trying out a brand for the first time, we can give different rates as well. So it's the reward that we can associate with the gift card as well. So it's the complete kind of package that enables you to take something and personalize it even further.
great. And then going down, obviously, once you've acquired, right, then the hardest part is really keeping them engaged. Obviously, you've spoken a lot about different ways that you guys are doing that. I think what's really interesting here is, based on this, right, that 90% of recipients will actually overspend. So it speaks exactly
Yeah.
to what you were mentioning, that, the brands really benefit as well when that card is redeemed because A, they're going to get that repeat visit, but also they're going to
Mhm.
spend more than what's on their card.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly right. I mean, we see that time and time and time again. And one of the functions that we've embedded over the last few weeks is the ability to provide rewards that can only be spent back with the brand partner. So, you buy an Amazon gift card and then you get a certain percentage back in kind of, again, another form of branded money that can only be spent on Amazon that you then spend using your HyperJar card. So it just drives that circle of loyalty that you were mentioning before, Nicole, that you spend on gift card, then you spend using your payment card, then you spend on gift card, then you spend and it's the two
yeah.
channels of payment essentially that you're in this loop, but it's all your total spend at a brand, which is the powerful tool, right? It doesn't matter how you spend as long as it makes sense for you and you're getting the most value.
And obviously you guys are really focused on driving as much value for your users, but the
Yeah,
truth is it's also a big revenue driver for you guys as well, right? And obviously it's up to you guys to determine how you split that. Obviously for some use cases, our partners have the whole revenue, right? Which
yeah.
is significant, especially, for the larger volume. So
Exactly right. It's the tools to be able to, at different times, whether we're trying to drive additional sales, we might give more to the consumer, for example. If we're on a profit drive, it might be that we hold something back. So it's, again, it's the different campaigns that we will tell customers when we're doing big boosts on the different rates. So we can really use the whole kind of mechanism in a way that suits us for our business needs at any given time.
Amazing. Okay, and then on to the next slide. So just including a slide on loyalty. So again, I think most people, when they think of gift cards, it's always been a really great way to build loyalty, whether it's for new customers or existing, right? Those long-term that you want to continue to reward. Recently I heard that over 90% of businesses now have a loyalty program, right? So it's super competitive to say that if you're not thinking about loyalty, you're really missing, right? You're not going to retain those customers. You're not going to keep them coming back to you. And, I know you kind of tapped on this, but obviously being able to like utilize customer data to tailor the marketing promotions, again, it just helps to improve your loyalty program.
Absolutely, because it's not just one size fits all, right? You're designing things that make sense for an individual customer that then gives them a reason to come back to you and also come back to the brands that they love to shop with as well. So we feel that that's a really powerful way that we build loyalty for ourselves with our customer base and through our partnerships. And just so happens to be a revenue generating activity for us that brings it all together. So I think that whole loyalty piece is important, but at the center of that, I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but it has to be the customer that benefits the most, because without them, the end customer, the end consumer that's buying the products, because if they're not happy, then no one else is, right? So to have a proposition that makes sense for them, and then that makes sense for everyone else within the chain, for us, for Tillo, for the retailers, that's what we're trying to build out.
And that's right. It's all about the collaboration,
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay. And then, so moving on, we'll talk through just, again, the appeal of gift cards. I think we've you just nailed it with your last statement, right? That, gift cards help transform, in some cases, a cost center and make them into a profit generator. So by leveraging the margins, not only do partners win, the customers win, and then the brands win, right? So it really is just that, beautiful cycle, where everyone can benefit.
Yeah, I think so. I think that the piece I was talking about earlier about intent is so important for the retailers, because they're locking in the customer spend really, really early, and therefore they're willing to give this discount through the gift cards as a result. And that means that we have more to then play with if we're offering, we get a discounted rate, or we get a promotional rate on selling the gift cards, that we have then way more flexibility to do things around different promotions, or have as I say, a sales driving drive, or a profit drive as well. So I think the whole structure of how it works is great because of that level of flexibility you get.
Yeah. Amazing. So, and then so as we move on, I wanted to walk through just a few different use cases. Again, I know we've really highlighted specific ones. As I go through this, Joe, I promise not to steal your thunder, as you go through HyperJar specifically. But so this use case is really fascinating to me, because open banking, obviously we're seeing a big growth. UK, again, kind of leads in this space. But, the cost of acceptance for merchants leveraging open banking is significant, but there's really no benefit historically to the customer, right? By paying by bank, they don't really see a difference. So by our open banking partners, they're actually using gift cards to reward that behavior, right? So they're trying to just, again, change that behavior by saying, hey, it may take a little bit extra than your credit card, but if you pay by bank, here's a small reward. And we're actually seeing like triple-digit growth in adoption by offering an incentive, right? And so I just think it's really cool as, again, we start to see more of, neobanks and challenger banks, and then the open banking, like really there's something to be said about customers responding to these type of rewards.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to include, so this one is also very kind of standard when people think about, that kind of earn points and then burn them onto, right? And we love to talk about like the earn and the burn, but in this case, you've earned these many points or dollars, can burn them onto a gift card. So that's really, been a big space for us. We're also seeing some kind of some other trends in the cash out space, obviously crypto being a big one, gaming. There's a lot of different verticals where, just having that ability to take, whether it's in-game currency or, crypto spend or, earn and move it onto a gift card because it's branded currency, it's really meaningful to end users. Okay, and then moving into B2C. So this is, again, more of a standard use case. So a lot of our partners within FinTech are using this. So they're offering gift cards, right? So either at face value or at a discount, which really kind of, whether it's, again, there's so many different ways you can do this, but I think that's a really good transition into kind of talking a little bit more about the user experience with you guys, with HyperJar. So we can go to the next slide and I'll let you take it from here.
Great, thank you very much. So yeah, our use case is all about self-budgeting with rewards. And before I come on to the consumer flow, which we've got in front of us, I'll talk a little bit about HyperJar to give a bit of context. So as mentioned at the start of the webinar, we're a money management app. So we're helping over 600,000 customers plan and manage and spend their money more effectively. And we look and feel like a lot of the neobanks or digital wallets that you might be familiar with. So people like N26 or Starling or Revolut or Monzo. In the same way you download HyperJar from the App Store or from Google Play, fill in some customer details, and then you're presented with a digital wallet where you can transfer money in from your main bank account via open banking. And you're also issued with a HyperJar MasterCard, which you can use to spend anywhere once you've transferred money in. Then we have all the table stakes stuff like Apple or Google Pay. We have faster payments for quick transfers, and we don't charge foreign exchange fees if you use the card abroad. So at the very kind of base level, you could use HyperJar as a kind of extra or supplementary account to your main bank account. But we've built a lot of world-first tech that really sets us apart. And fundamental to our proposition is this idea of helping customers spend, that a lot of fintech, a lot of banking is set up to try and take as much deposits as possible, because that's how banks and different institutions can make money through investments. Whereas we're more interested in that journey from when a customer deposits their money into the account through to when they spend, because we feel that's massively underserved in the market generally. So central to our proposition is this idea called jars, hence the name HyperJar. And jars are meant to reflect your own unique financial life. So you might set up a jar for groceries, for holidays, for bills, you name it, right? There's millions and millions of jars that be created, all with their weird and wacky naming conventions and setup. The idea is you create the jar, you give it a name, give it a color, you can add little notes, reminders, messages, completely personalize it, transfer money in directly to that jar, and then you can spend directly from that jar like a sub account using your HyperJar card. And this example on the first screen here shows some of this is actually my account. So some of the jars that are in my account, so food and drink for groceries, family as well. I've got holiday jars as well. So I'm squirreling different money in there. You can also share these jars with other HyperJar users. So it's a very social way to plan and spend. So almost think about it, if you're out for a meal and there's 7 of you around a table, and then the kind of creeping death comes when the waiter comes to collect the bill, everyone has to pay individually.
Yeah.
Well, if you had a shared jar, everyone could put money in at the start of the evening and then just tap using your card and the money comes out automatically. So it's great for that kind of, for that social spending, going on holiday, family budgeting for groceries or bills or whatever, right? We also have a kids card and app. So it's all about teaching children financial literacy and giving parents full kind of parental control over where their children are spending. And then more pertinent to this conversation, of course, is then our link with different retailers and services. So you have the ability to link over 2,000 UK retailers and services to the jars that you have created and automate payment from those jars when you tap your card. So if I link Amazon to my tech jar and spend on the Amazon marketplace, the money will automatically come from that jar when I spend. And this, in essence, creates this kind of real interaction with the people that you're spending with, your friends, your family, your children, and the brands that you love. And the reason why we wanted to introduce gift cards is to kind of really instill this as a way to build loyalty with the brands. And we found, since we launched in October last year, found this really successful in a way to kind of build real engagement with customers. Because as I've mentioned earlier, We don't care about how you spend or how you interact at the different brands, if it's through gift cards, if it's through your payment card, because we can find this way to kind of combine the two payment rails to have this overall solution for customers. And that's what we're interested in. So our proposition essentially for through gift cards is that you can interact with over 90 brands that we have in the app, all delivered through Tillo's portal. And then you get rewards for buying gift cards. So we use the discount provided by Tillo to convert into a reward to spend next time at the retailer of your choice. So as the top of the screen here, or just go back one, sorry. Sorry, I'll use Deliveroo as the example, seeing as it's the one on the flow. Makes sense, right? So Deliveroo here is a food delivery service in the UK. And you have the ability here to buy what we call them cashback vouchers within the app. And you click on Deliveroo, you've got some information there. If you choose to have a reward that can only be spent back at Deliveroo, you'll get, I think in this instance, 3.5% instant cashback. So you select the amount that you want in any denomination. In this example, it's £20. Select buy voucher. And then if we flow to the next screen, which shows the kind of purchasing, you then receive your digital voucher directly within the HyperJar app. And this is all provided directly from Tillo. So then I can upload that code directly into the Deliveroo app or website. And I'm also issued with my cashback immediately that can only be then spent back at Deliveroo. So I get a notification within my account of I bought £20 of gift cards from the money that's in my HyperJar account. And then I've received this extra money that can then be spent at Deliveroo when I spend using my payment card. So I can go on, and I actually do this. This is real money that I bought. I spend a lot on takeaways. So yeah,
it has nothing to do with that, right? Yeah.
So it does feel like a real kind of rewarding process that, I'm getting money back. And especially with something as, as regular as like a takeaway or a food jar, right? Because the rewards you get back are very meaningful, because that's like an extra side or a drink when you're buying a meal for a Friday and Saturday night. So it feels very tangible, the rewards that I get, and has certainly built my loyalty with different brands that we have on the app. So yeah, that's just one example of how we're using gift cards to really grow engagement and revenue through our customers.
I really love what you built. And I mean, so now the question is, when are you coming to the US?
Yeah.
I better get an email as soon as that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. Global
Perfect.
domination awaits,
Okay.
but
Well, and going back to kind of my past life, right? So managing Costco, it's interesting to me because when you think of Costco, I mean, even globally, right? You have some of the most affluent customers in the world, right?
Mhm.
And yet you have customers who are willing to pay a membership even to unlock value. So it really doesn't matter, even when outside of, I know you mentioned at the beginning, kind of the financial crisis and inflation and all the things. I mean, but even prior to that, right? The spend when people are getting a value, it is so meaningful. So it's not just people who are underbanked or unbanked or who, are living paycheck, like this matters to everyone. And so what you've built here really unlocks, again, when we think of gift cards differently as more of like a branded currency, you're really unlocking that self-use, which is why we're seeing those big growth trends in the gift card market in general.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we think spending as a focus point is so important, because it's essentially the biggest asset class you have in your life. I think over the lifetime, the average person, and this is UK numbers, spends over £1 million. So everyone's essentially a millionaire because of the amount that you spend over time. And that's way more than any investment that you'll ever do for most people, right? And it's a bit of a jump, but this is almost a bit like investing in your shopping, right? Because you're investing in advance, you're converting into a branded currency, and then you're being rewarded for doing that by having a return on that commitment of currency. So you're making your money go further, because I think yearly average saving for customers £125, and that's an average, that's a mean. So we have people that are making way more if they're utilizing more of their spend, converting their habits into the brands that are offering this. So it's a really powerful tool to help the money that you have go further, essentially.
Well, and if with your financial literacy, right, if you're getting those younger kids learning this early, I mean, imagine what that yearly average is going to be, 10 years from now when those, younger kids have really matured, right? And they're they're the
Exactly right.
sellers who are out in the marketplace. Like we're building we're setting the precedent now, but it's gonna be the expectation.
That's it. I mean, traditionally we had so many different ways with using cash, real cold
Yeah,
hard cash of you can put it in envelopes, you can put it under your mattress, you can put it in a piggy bank. As we move into a more digital world, where are the tools that are helping you do this? And this is what we're trying to build
yeah,
through HyperJar, that I look at my bank account and it's just a ledger of spend. There's nothing to help me plan or
yeah.
budget because they want me to keep the money in the account, right?
It's depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
But so
yeah,
there needs to be more digital tools to help the younger generations with what we're doing. And then, yeah, as you say, as they get older, they have that financial literacy and they can plan more effectively.
yeah. Love it. Love it. Okay, and then going on, I could talk about this all day with you. But I know we're getting, want to make sure we leave time for questions. So that leads us to kind of the last, kind of big point we wanted to talk about. So obviously, with all of the different opportunities that are out there, right, you want to make sure that you have the right partner to do that.
Mm.
So some of the best things you're going to look for, obviously, is not only speed to market with integration, but also approval process with brands. Obviously, you want to make sure you have as many brands available for launch. The ability to be able to scale globally. So have, access to various regions. Discounts obviously are, I know historically kind of what people view as the most important because, and especially again, with your use case where you're not only just keeping it, but you're sharing a majority of
Yeah.
it. And then obviously being able to provide other solutions. So having a gift card mall, leveraging other products like the open loop products, so the Visa and MasterCard, choice products. So we didn't feature it here, but Tillo, we have a product where you can send an amount and then the customer can be fully personalized and they can choose, right? So again, it's just having other things to fit, whereas that's kind of something we use a lot for referrals, like I mentioned early on. So, but I'd love to know really when you guys were looking, for a partner, what was most important to you guys in the process?
Yeah, I think a big thing for us was because we had such a specific use case was finding a partner that would treat it like a true partnership, that it wasn't just a financial exchange for a SaaS for a service. It was more like, let's go on this journey together because we feel that we can really innovate in this space. And that's what we really got back from the Tillo team, which made a big difference in our kind of choice of partners. I think we have a lot of plans of how we can use gift cards in the future, how we can adapt the principles of gift cards onto the payment rails as well, that we're in discussions with Tillo over. So as a partner long term, it made a lot of sense to us. And I think since we've been on board, you talked about speed of approval. So we have over 90 brands, and these are curated, right? We haven't just gone, right, we'll have everyone. We've been very specific with who we want based on the audience and based on where our customers are already spending. So we have a proposition that's really tailored and specific to our customers' needs as well. And that whole service element, I mean, you've won several awards in this process as well. But just having that service where, if we have a question or if we have an issue, that we can resolve it very quickly and very timely. And again, it comes back to that. It feels like a partnership rather than a service that's provided, which is really important, especially for me in my role and for what we're trying to build as an organization.
Well, thank you. And honestly, we're again, it's these kind of partnerships that means so much. And it's my favorite part of the job is really just kind of talking through with, new partners and really figuring out like, how can we be innovative? How can we be creative? And obviously you guys are a perfect example of that. So that really kind of leads us to the end of the stuff we had, planned to talk about. Obviously, we'd love to open it up for any questions. If anyone has any questions at all, we're happy to answer them. We'll give it a minute. Oh, let's see. Oh, here. Sorry, there's a Q&A. Bear with me. Okay. So Joe, it looks like I see one for you here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, the top one. So yeah, this
Yeah.
is it's so the question is just having a browser cashback section. Looks like many of the retailers cashback spend anywhere is greater than the cashback to spend with the retailer. I wonder if this is an error, as the concept doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, this is really great point. And this is hot off the press. So we're running a boosted rate for the next 2 weeks at the start of February, because it's like payday. Everyone's feeling really poor after the kind of January month and Christmas, and we're experimenting with some different rates. So what you'll see within the app for kind of really high frequency spend, and this is based on the data that we have, we're running rates that's higher with the cashback to spend back at the merchant, so some of the grocers. And for some of the more infrequent spend, where we see more customers opt for just cashback, that we're opting actually for a higher rate for those brands. And that's because if, you know, it's a brand where you might only spend like once a year, would customers be deterred by the fact that they have to have money that's locked in, right? That they might not spend. So for the sake of a 2 week boost, and there'll be some comms going out around this, we decided to see this and see what, you know, see how customers react, how they're engaged with it, what their preferences are. So as I mentioned earlier in the call, it's all about for us experimenting to find the right fit for us, for our customers, and see what really works. So that's the reason for that. Hope that makes sense.
And then it looks like she had an add-on question here. So when checking out with a merchant, the HyperJar user can pay with their HyperJar card as usual. They don't have to pay with a gift card. How does this work?
Yeah, so yeah, the idea is that you pay using the money that's in your account. So you can use from we have a wallet, which is where your money lands when you transfer money into your main account. Or you can spend from one of your jars as well, which is great. So if you have a grocery jar and you want to buy an Asda gift card, it's ideal. We've also introduced a quicker version for customers as well. So if they don't have money in their HyperJar account, they can actually use a different card to purchase the gift card. So it might be your bank card, for example, to purchase the gift card directly within the HyperJar app. So it's different options for different customers, depends on what works for them.
Love it. Thank you. And thank you, Charlotte, for those questions. It's
Yeah,
really
thanks,
great.
Charlotte.
And then we've got another question here, Anonymous. It says, what makes digital gift cards a more versatile option for businesses compared to just plain old cash incentives? Maybe we can tag team this one. But I think the first thing that, you know, we've probably beat, with a dead horse a little bit, or, that was a bad example, but is the flexibility, right? So they can be sent instantly, and also they're global, right? So it doesn't, as you guys expand, right, it's obviously there are global brands that we have, and it works just, no matter where you are. And then also just, you can make them more personal, like you mentioned, from a branding perspective, and just making sure you really have kind of what is most attractive to the end customer. And then the discount doesn't hurt either, right? Whether it's, yeah.
Absolutely. I think brands can often offer more of that's what we're doing in the main through our process. Obviously, we're trying something different in this next 2 weeks, but the fact that if the money's coming back into the retailer, right, you can often provide the customer with more value because it's coming back into you, rather than a cash incentive, which might be less, because that essentially could go and be spent at a competitor. So yeah, it's just different options for different objectives, I think.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have another question. Gift cards aren't anything new, so what's changed that put them on the map for businesses now? I think, really it isn't new, right? And I think that's what's most important, is it's really powerful and people trust them. There are brands that people trust. Obviously, the experience of, redeeming them, people, are very familiar with them now. It's been a kind of staple for a long time. But it's really what's evolving is just how businesses are using them. Again, you think about, prior to the digitization of gift cards and all the things, right? It wouldn't have unlocked as much as it had for partners like you on the HyperJar side and others.
Yeah, I think they're more accessible than they've ever been through providers like yourselves, Tillo. And I think for a long time that the name doesn't help, right? The gift card. So I always, years ago, I always thought, a gift card is something you gift naturally. But it's that concept of stored value or branded credit that I think it's taken on a new kind of life for gift cards as well. It's why different businesses are utilizing them in different ways, that again, it's as I keep saying, it's just a different way to pay, essentially, and it should be seen like that rather than as something that you give to someone else.
Yeah, it's interesting with, like I said, I used to manage GameStop, and that was kind of one of the first big retailers where we saw it was a lot of self-use, right? It wasn't a lot of grandparents going in there to buy gaming cards for their kids. Now, granted, that did happen. There's still that gifting element was still really important, but obviously most gamers who were going into GameStop were buying Roblox gift card because they wanted to go home and play it, right? And so again, it's been and just a major evolution in that self-use.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, that's a great example because we see the kind of hybrid of that through HyperJar with brands like Xbox, for
yeah,
example, because
yeah,
there'll be a lot of self-use for like gold memberships or yearly passes or whatever, and also parents buying their, children might ask for their pocket money in
that's
X
great.
points or
Oh
Xbox
yeah,
money, right?
yeah.
So it's a great way that it kind of blurs the lines between the two, but it's effective for what people want.
Don't give them your credit card
No,
for that
no, yeah,
account.
I did that
You're
to my
gonna
mum when I was younger. I'm not making that mistake again.
have that's right.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then so next question from Glenn: what recruitment or requirement, sorry, is there on behalf of the cardholder to open an account based on the like U.S. Patriot Act? Um, so I guess for HyperJar right now, you guys are strictly in the UK.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, for from our perspective, so we don't it's not a credit check at all. It's just an identity check. So we go through a pretty standard know your customer process just to we can check you are who you say you are, but it's not a credit check. It's not a banking product at all. It's an e-money license essentially that we're running. So might be similar to similar types of acts in the US as well.
yeah. Um, okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, and obviously if there, Glenn, if you want to follow up afterwards, I can give you some more feedback maybe on some other partners as well in the US who are doing something similar. Okay, anonymous. Is there still friction using gift cards at the point of sale? So that's a great question. So Joe, I don't know if you want to jump on it or I can, or
Yeah, I mean, I can give my views. So
yeah, that'd be great.
I actually think so. We see a large proportion of spend online through gift
Yeah,
cards, and actually think there's less friction using a gift card. I think it's just one code or something that can be copied directly from the app to pay, rather than entering, card details, expiry date, CVV codes, and things like that. So I think it can actually be quicker from an online perspective. And then in store, it purely depends on the retailer. I've found some retailers are totally set up for this now, that with self-checkouts or payment tills, it's basically a QR code that you scan. That again it's a similar to a tap of a debit card or a Apple Pay. Some brands, of course, are still playing catch up, so it's a bit more clunky, but there's definitely a change in that makes it, I think, in many cases, just as quick as a normal payment.
yeah. And typically when pulling from, our API, if a brand needs a barcode or some other type of product to redeem at point of sale, right, that'll be generated on the URL. So when the customer gets their code, right, it'll pop up with the T's and C's and the card image. So we obviously want them to be able to spend it anywhere.
Yeah.
So we give those tools. But also, I mean, I think about 10 years ago, I mean, retailers having the ability to scan a mobile barcode was next to none, right? Even some retailers have really archaic point of sale systems that has shifted. So, the friction is, like you mentioned, some brands it still may be an issue or some, but really it's minimal and it's just going to continue to evolve to be seamless, really.
Yeah, agreed.
Um, Okay, and then Jamie had a question here. A gift card aggregator company in Colombia for Nicole. With many brands, there's no possibility to integrate through API to acquire the cards. So how do you guarantee a supply on demand from Tillo to HyperJar of these brands? Does HyperJar have to pre-purchase an inventory to guard it? So to start with the last portion of it, no. So it's, HyperJar would only pay upon delivery of a product, right? So they're not pre-purchasing that inventory. And then it really depends. Obviously, it's always going to be seamless when we have access to real-time pull. So being able to pull, inventory on demand. And then, from an inventory perspective, if there are brands where, let's say, they don't have maybe a processor, they don't have a way to, deliver in real time, we do have the ability to have a vault where we basically have codes. And obviously we're ensuring that there's never any, issue, because no one wins if there's no inventory to pull, right? Especially the customer. And the last thing that we would ever want is a bad customer experience and have that impact our partners negatively. So that's something that, again, is rare, but we really go above and beyond to ensure that there's a seamless experience and no issues with inventory.
Yeah, yeah. To echo that, we haven't seen any issues with the process. It works well for us and our needs. So yeah, I'd echo that sentiment.
And then Joe, this one's for you. If someone's
Yeah,
yeah.
great question.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I think you might need a permanent address, but that could be wrong because we're changing things all the time to make it more accessible for customers. Like we've just launched within the last 2 months what we call like HyperJar Lite. So it's a way that you can onboard and buy gift cards and see some of our features without signing up to a full account. So it's almost like a try before you buy. So actually, anonymous attendee, it'd be great that you could try and download when you come to the UK and see how you get on. And if you're having any troubles, my email's on this screen now as well. So drop me an email as well, so we can see if we can help you out.
You're gonna get a lot of slack. They're gonna be like, why are so
Yeah.
many outside to your home? I'm teasing.
I want that boost on Amazon again. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so we've got 10 minutes left. If you have any questions, obviously we'll give it another minute, but regardless, as we're closing up, Joe, just thank you so much. This has just been so lovely. Obviously, you taking the time to do this, to educate us on all of the cool things you're doing, but also you're just such a pleasure. I'm so grateful.
No, thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. So I hope it was useful.
It was, yeah, I know I found it useful. And and then I also want to thank our amazing marketing team. So they obviously helped with building, the preparation and building awareness and helping curate some of the stuff. So, and Matt, obviously thank you for helping host. So thank you guys so much. And then lastly, huge thank you to everyone who, scheduled the time to be here today to, take time out of your busy schedules for the questions, super helpful. Hopefully you guys found this insightful. Hopefully you learned some really kind of new ways to think about gift cards, branded currency. And if you'd like, obviously, as Joe mentioned, our contact information is here. If you want to connect, brainstorm, innovation, any kind of use cases for your business, please feel free to reach out. As I mentioned, that's my favorite part about my role at Tillo. And then we'll follow up after with everyone. So we'll send out a recording, we'll send a follow-up. So, and if any questions come up, please let us know. And we got a few minutes back. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a lovely week. Thanks again,
Thanks,
Joe.
everyone. Thanks,
Good luck
Nicole.
with pick up.
Thank you.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone. Bye.
Everyone.